I want to talk to you a little bit about metacognition and why it's important at Stratford Academy. Why do we need to even talk about metacognition? Metacognition is thinking about how you think, an awareness of what you don't know. Sometimes the language that we use with our students can be vague. We say things like, if you just work hard, you'll do well. But some students might work hard in ways that aren't useful or don't target the right things. So we have to be more careful about how we talk to our students and how we help them learn about what they know, what they don't know, and how to get better. What's the goal of metacognition? We need to make sure that students feel confident evaluating what is working for them and what isn't, what they know versus what they still need to work on. To do this, we have to begin teaching these skills to our youngest learners, but continue asking it of our teenagers. I want to offer you a few testimonials from upper school teachers. Michelle Fleming in 11th grade English said this: "One of the things I've continued to do is ask kids to self-assess their writing, particularly their timed writes. Since we've closed the doors, I haven't been able to conference with the kids in the same format, so I've asked them to read over my comments and turn it in, and then write me a summary of my notes as well as a looking forward assessment. What should they continue to do, and what do they need to change? The rereading of their work has been an excellent teacher, since they have trained themselves to look for certain qualities. They can now recognize when their own work is lacking." Holly Wongren, World History, AP European History, and Public Speaking teacher, said this: "I do this activity where I ask a question and then sit quietly for 3 to 5 minutes while I have everyone write their answer in a notebook. I get way more participation in the discussion that follows. We have a great deal to think about in terms of how we relate to students and how we can better understand what they're learning." Unless you think this is only for upper schoolers, some testimonials from lower school teachers as well. Della Young in the 3rd grade said this: "There are 3 anchor charts I have in my classroom to help kids with their thinking. We did these together for mini lessons, and they stay up all year, so the kids and I can refer to them. It's been interesting to hear the kids refer to the charts as they work in small groups together. As the year has progressed, they've become their own little teachers." Jill Pinkston in Science echoed these sentiments. "In 3rd grade, they're not used to having to refine their initial idea. We use books and websites for research. I stressed to them that this literary work was not their first try, but refined and improved time and time again. We talk about intellectual property, something that's a progressive idea for 3rd grade, but I don't think it's ever too early to begin thinking about the fact that thoughts belong to the thinker and you need to share your sources. My favorite endorsement my efforts are working is when I overhear them in the halls talking to each other and incorporating a science concept in their peer conversations. Great! They have owned the information and are making it work for their life." A testimonial from a student follows.
I think Meta was good to have every week, about 3 months out of the school year, because we could take a break and step back and set a goal for next week and see what we have to work on. And it was good turning in a video to you because you could see that we're recognizing what we need to work on and just making sure that we make some effort to do it.
The student is referring to a practice in our French classes of taking Wednesday as a day of reflection, meta-mercredi. So what might this look like in your classroom? It might look like teaching students a variety of problem-solving and study strategies so that they can use what works best for them. It might look like creating time in class to discuss difficulties and progress, like that example of meta-mercredi. And it may also look like frequent interspaced review of past content, helping students stay in touch with what you've learned throughout the year and come back to touch with it throughout the course of the year so that they can confirm what they know and don't know. A couple of example activities, just to give you some ideas. 4 steps to metacognition involves giving students a list of concepts. Students will mark the list with a star by concepts where they totally know the answer, or a question mark if they're not sure. They will then fill in the answer for everything they have marked with a star. They will take the time after to go back and look up all the answers for those things marked with a question mark, and then go back and look up to confirm that all their answers with stars are correct using notes or the internet. My students were surprised at how often they thought they knew something, and then when it came time to check it, perhaps they weren't as sure as they had thought. Under the line is another simple exercise that you can do to help your students think about what they know and don't know. Have your students write down everything they remember about a given topic. Then when they finish, they should draw a line and talk with a partner about what they remembered. Under the line, they should write everything their partner remembered that they didn't remember on their own. This helps them keep a clear line. What did I remember? And what do I wish I remembered that my partner remembered that maybe I'll remember next time? A couple of visual examples as well from classrooms around Stratford. On the left is one of Della Young's third grade charts that she referenced in her testimonial, helping students reframe their attitudes so that instead of saying they're not good at something, they can learn how to think about what they're missing and how they could improve. In the upper school computer science classroom, Mike McHugh has created this graphic to help students think about their programming and coding and how it will look like struggle, success, new ideas, improving those new ideas, and struggle again before they reach success. Stratford teachers voted on the questions they most wanted their students to be able to answer around metacognition. What resources do I have? Where can I find answers? Where do I go for help? What are my strengths? When do I need help? What am I good at? Did someone else have a different way to explain it? Can someone else do it a different way? How does this connect to what I already know? How can I transfer it to other situations? What did I do when it was hard? And why do we do this? Some of this I know feels obvious. So why should you care? Research shows that students, and humans in general, are incredibly bad at actually identifying what they know and don't know. We have to help them learn to identify it so that they can have more success. Asking these sorts of questions of your students will lead to deeper, more productive conversations and relationships with them. And finally, Stratford's mission statement is to develop lifelong learners. So we want to continue to develop strategies with them throughout their time here. One more reason to care. A lower school teacher said this: "Whenever I feel that the class came up short or misbehaved, the first person's behavior that I examine is my own. How could I have done better?" Realizing we want them to think, we have to think too. It's what distinguishes us as Homo sapiens. Teaching is our metacognition too. What do we know? What do we still have to learn? I know that you're already new, and this is feeling like one more thing to worry about. Start small if it feels like a lot. A little time spent on this is better than none at all. Experiment. Fail gloriously sometimes. It's okay if it doesn't all work in the effort to make your students better learners and better thinkers. Get student feedback about what works for them, what they enjoy, and what feels useful. And use ready-made resources. Ask other teachers. Use the resources provided here. Don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel. Speaking of resources, here's a final document that has lists of valuable questions, activities, documents, and reminders surrounding metacognition. This list may feel like a lot at first glance, but use as much or as little of it is as helpful to you. It's here for you to help you explore metacognition in your time at Stratford Academy. Thanks for listening.